Okay, it's 2:00. We'll bring the Diversion Authority Public Outreach Committee to order. And could we have a call to order, please?
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mr. Van Amberg. Mr. Ebbinger.
Here.
Mr. Gust.
Here.
Mrs. Grimberg. Mr. Capitan.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Seljevold.
Here.
Mr. Strand.
Here.
Quorum is present.
All right, thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes from January 26, 2021.
I move approval.
Second.
And is that the last time we had a meeting? Shouldn't it be 2022? Right? Okay, so it would be January 26, 2022. And we had a motion. John, is there a second? Here. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 3 is the approval of the order of agenda. Is there any reason to move our agenda around? Any reason? If not, I would look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Jake seconds.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Call a roll, please.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Ebbinger.
Aye.
Mr. Gust.
Yes.
Mr. Capitan.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Seljevold.
Aye.
Mr. Strand.
Did you say
Motion.
Strand?
Strand.
Yes. I'm sorry, I just can't hear very well today.
Motion approved. Okay, next item is media highlights, and Joel/Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the Public Outreach Committee. I have a short presentation here. Amy couldn't join us. She's traveling at the moment. Apologize for that, so I'll attempt to kind of fill in. We had a pretty active month last month as far as media coverage of the project. And here I'll go through a couple of these just so the whole board is aware. We had an editorial article in the Forum about the Infrastructure and Jobs Act funding. Very well written, very supportive of the work that Senator Klobuchar and Senator Hoeven did in achieving full funding on the federal side of the ledger for the FM diversion program. We also had another article that was written by a Forum reporter about acquisition and compensation for lands on the land side. Obviously, as this committee knows, as we continue to move through these property acquisitions, we have a number of eminent domain cases pending right now and moving through the process. So really the article talked about that, talked about how we value property, and I think Jody Smith and members from Onstead Twitchell were quoted in that article. Overall, I think it was very well written and really kind of took all the facts and put them out there. And there was really nothing concerning in there other than, just notifying the public of the process and how we're going about it. We also had a couple of mentions from Governor Burgum at two different events. The first was the State of the State event, in which the governor did an excellent job, I felt, in highlighting the ongoings of state activities across North Dakota. In particular, he spent about 3 to 5 minutes talking about the diversion project and the importance of it for not only Fargo-Moorhead metro area, but the whole state of North Dakota. And he had a lot of great video and photos that he showed during his presentation. He also, earlier in the week, had an announcement about a grant for the Grand Farm here locally. And during his presentation there, he mentioned the FM diversion project and how we have about 30,000 acres of new public right-of-way now, and there hasn't really been much determined as far as the use of that right-of-way long-term. And so I think he was setting the stage for community discussions of what could potentially be located within the right-of-way that would be in compliance with the project and fit within this new public right-of-way. We also, Jody Smith and I also did a number of talk radio episodes. There was another one on there that I don't have listed with Mr. Christopher Larson on the flag. But overall, most of the discussions were surrounding the lands program. I mean, that's the big topic now that the project is funded, and we're moving forward with construction. So a lot of questions about the flowage easements in that process. I think it was actually pretty advantageous for Jody and I to be engaging with talk radio on the issue, since we are anticipating sending out the flowage easement letters here within the next few weeks. And so those will be getting into the hands of landowners that are affected. And so kind of setting the stage as far as some public discussion around the flowage easement. And then, of course, our more formal letters to the landowners. And then we are planning on having a series of open public houses in the next few weeks as well to engage with the landowners, both on the North Dakota and the Minnesota side, about the process for the flowage easements, how they were calculated, how they were valued. And so we're really putting a lot of effort into engaging. It's over 400 parcels, so it's a pretty major effort on behalf of the authority to make sure everybody's informed and that we're making ourselves available for questions, comments, and of course sitting down and working individually with the property owners through our land agents as well. So that was just more of just an update for you guys. I don't know if there's any questions about the media engagement in the last month, but I can certainly answer those.
Any questions? I do have one, but any questions? Joel, with these meetings coming up for the flowage easements, are we going to do virtual on that? Is there a way to do that for absentee landowners and also landowners that go south, so that they can hear directly and then maybe not have to listen to their renters? Is there a way that we can do that, or isn't there?
Mr. Olson, I think we can certainly do that, and I think that's a great idea. We will be having a presentation at each one of those open houses talking about the whole flowage easement process, how it was evaluated. And then, of course, there'll be breakouts and stuff for landowners to be able to have more personal discussions with staff from the authority and our consultants. So I think we could certainly make the presentation available virtually for those folks that are not able to attend but still wish to engage with the authority. I don't think that would be a difficult thing for us.
Great.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. I'll move on into, I'll let you progress the agenda, Mr. Chair.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. You've got the floor, so go ahead. Current and upcoming communication efforts.
All right. So as we look into next month in March, we already have a number of things scheduled that would be classified as public outreach. We were invited to speak with the Cass County engineer at the North Dakota Transportation Conference. So Mr. Bachigard and Mr. Benson will be there presenting about the project, talking about right-of-way acquisition, and then some of the technical components of the project that are pertinent to the DOT's conference. We are also, we've been nominated and we're competing against one other project nationally for the IJ Global Awards. And so we have a 50-50 chance, but that awards ceremony is on March 13th. It's really focused on the public financing side of the authority in the P3 portion of our program. Because of the uniqueness and being the first in its class, it's being recognized by a number of organizations as being an award-winning project. And I think if this group remembers, last month we were also awarded an award through Project Finance International as being the top P3 water project in the Americas for 2021. So I think it's pretty significant that this program is being acknowledged nationally and internationally for all the hard work that's gone in and all of the innovation that's gone in, especially on the public financing side. So I'll certainly report back to this board at the March meeting on whether we were successful in winning that award. We also have been receiving a number of invitations from NDSU to do presentations for classes. So Chris and I are going to present on contracts and specifications on March 21st, and then I will be presenting to the Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering Department on the 25th. And that second presentation is going to be more focused on our mitigation programs. So our land acquisition, our prevent plant, our supplemental crop insurance, and a number of other mitigative items that are contained in the PRAM that we're offering to landowners. I think that the students and faculty are interested in how this public project is interacting with the agricultural community. So there should be some good discussion and questions that come out of that as well. And then I've also been invited to present to the legislature, to the Water Topics Overview Committee on March 22nd. So I plan to give a general project update as well as some discussion about the financing. I've been particularly asked to talk about the federal award, the bid award, and how our sales tax at the local level is coming in to ultimately fund the whole program. But it's going to be nice to be able to stand up there and let the legislature know that we have a fully funded program and everything's been allocated and secured. So, and then there is a P3 Water Summit that will be occurring. This is a summit of all the P3 water projects across the nation. And so the Red River Valley Alliance, the Corps of Engineers, and the Authority have been asked to speak at that and give a presentation about the program. Of course, our project is the only P3 project under construction related to flood control. And so there is a lot of interest nationally about how we got to this point. And so the Corps would like to engage with the market to kind of drum up support for future Corps P3 projects. And then, of course, learn lessons learned and best management practices that we've been able to compile as it relates to our program as well. So along with this, if Amy were to be here, she would express a number. Oh, here's some additional ones. I'm sorry. So Amy did put this together for me, so I'm kind of filling in for her. But these are a number of other communication efforts that Amy and I have been working on for next month. We have 2 videos that are coming out. One is a discussion about the project financing side to provide some clarity there. And another one is a brief construction update video. So it's about 2 minutes long, and it just shows a synopsis of where we're at with certain elements and as we're moving into construction, heavy construction in 2022. And then we continue to work on the website. We did receive RFQs, a number of firms here locally that were interested in helping us to update our website and provide more accurate information and more easily accessible information on the website. And so we have chosen to go with Flint Group. They did provide the best value and the best approach to updating our website. So as we kind of move through the contracting process, I would expect that to go before the board next month for consideration of approval. And once we get Flint on board contractually, we'll begin to make some pretty whole-scale revisions to the current website. Right now, we are using AE2S staff as well as internal staff to deal with the pages of the website that we have to have in compliance for the flowage easement process. But the larger redo of the website per se will be forthcoming within the next few months. We've also, Amy's been working with other staff internally to update the branding, logo guidelines, those sorts of things. And then we have some public relations pieces that we want to do on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter as well, that are being planned to be released in March. So a lot of activity, but they're on the communication side, but there's just a lot of activity overall for the whole program. So, and it's all good news. So with that, certainly this was more of an update, but any feedback or questions that the board has is certainly open.
John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have an anniversary coming up in March, if I recall, when we hit the height of the flood in '09. That's a date we should remember. That moment in time, that date when we hit the peak. And we should just keep our eyes on that, keep reminding the community. That's a day of remembrance and a day of an action that led to where we're at now. So I'm not sure when, I think it was late March, but we might want to confirm that, but there might be an opportunity for some good, healthy communications to the public in light of where we are versus then.
That's a great comment, Commissioner Strand. And I'm just going off of memory. I want to say it was March 26th, but it's been a number of years, so I could be off. But you're absolutely right. And we have been anticipating some things from a historical context, and we want to align them with, anniversaries or dates that they happen. We've kind of gone through and looked at, it's really more of a 6-month, release of information or PR facing things for social media. And we kind of move between historical context, construction, finance, and we try to kind of hit things at the appropriate time. So I think that's a great idea to do something on the anniversary of the '09 flood. And we could certainly do some media posts on that day, showing some pictures and kind of in remembrance of the '09 flood, which really was the impetus of the development of this project. So.
Anyone else?
I have maybe something to talk about on the calendar of public outreach. Next week, our Minnesota Association of Counties has our legislative conferences going on in St. Paul. And at our board meeting yesterday, we talked about it, and all 5 of our board members are going to be there. And I suggested that we have talking points going there regarding the Minnesota funding of this project. As you know, we've had a commitment on the part of Clay County and the city of Moorhead to do our best to lobby the state legislature for those needed funds from the Minnesota side. And that needs to stop. But, I congratulate Joel, you and John and all the people that did an awful lot of that legwork on the North Dakota side. And any help that you can give us in terms of information sheets and those types of things we can start that process with the Minnesota legislature. I think it's going to be important. We're going to start it next, I think it's the 2nd and the 3rd. We'll be there doing that, but even if you can help, I know Steve Larson, our county administrator, is going to be putting together some information for us to take, but in this short time, I know it's short notice, but if you and maybe John have any of your wisdom that you could add to us for presentation, that would be good.
Well, ask and you shall receive, Commissioner Campbell. So we have all kinds of information that we can compile and put together. And I think this is a great opportunity to get out in front of the Minnesota legislature. And for various reasons that we all know, it's been difficult to do that in previous years. And now the project is in a very different place. And it is time to start engaging the Minnesota legislature about the value and the benefits of this program to the state of Minnesota and the Clay County and the city of Moorhead, and what that all means. And so I think we can put together some great content for you and some talking points. It might be nice to kind of sit down with a few key commissioners too, and just maybe coordinate some different ways to interact or engage with the legislature when you're down there.
Well, I think that would be good, and I think we should add Mayor Carlson to that as well,
Yeah.
from the city, and our other council members from Moorhead that are on this board could probably be helpful in that regard as well. But
Yeah,
I think now is an excellent time for us to be going there. Now that all of the legal stuff is over, the fact that there is an incredible surplus in the state of Minnesota, that little bit that we might be asking for might be easier for them to deal with at this point in time. And of course, the people new to this, anything that comes out of Minnesota bonding, those things have to be tied to work done in Minnesota. Obviously, we have the tieback levies and that type of thing. And I can't remember, John Shockley, I don't want to put you on the spot if you're listening, but I believe the Red River control structure could be considered a Minnesota piece for the construction? Or that's all done by the Corps anyway, I guess, so. Okay. At one time, I thought there was some talk that it could be considered because it was on the Red River.
I think if it would have fallen on the I don't want to say original channel, where the state line is, you could consider it a Minnesota and North Dakota project. The decision where to construct it maybe came a little bit after that discussion, Commissioner Campbell.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, because it is being built on North Dakota soil. The river will be rerouted through it, but the state line won't change.
Right,
So
right.
there's actually going to be a part of North Dakota on the eastern part of the Red River when this is all said and done. So,
Well, any information you can get us would be helpful.
yeah, absolutely. And I do know just from conversations with Mayor Carlson that I think the FM diversion project and flood control within the city of Moorhead is their primary legislative priority this year as well. So we should certainly coordinate between the county and the city and the authority prior to the conference, I think, and probably beyond that. What is going to be our long-term strategy leading up to the legislative session, and who do we need to talk to?
Well, they do have an additional item that's important to them right now too, and that's a potential local option sales tax that goes through the legislature, but I think that goes through a local vote first, I think. But
November. Yep.
well, I just thought we were
Okay.
talking about things coming up, and that's what we got going on. So.
I think on the screen just before this, it was mentioned about the ag impacts and what the diversion is doing. And we've been working on these for a long time. I think I look back and I think it was 2015, I think I requested a letter from RMA on the insurance part and what the impact of this project would be. Maybe it was even earlier, but anyway, we've been working on this and have worked with Watson Associates, a great company that actually implements different things, different options into the multi-peril insurance. And so we've been working with them to arrive at what can we do to make sure that farmers are covered if we impact them. Because the federal program goes away if we flood the land with our project. So we feel we have a good program, but we wanted to truth it, and we wanted to bring some farmers, local farmers that are within the area. And so we brought them in the end of last year, I think it was in November, and and just sat down with Watson Associates, Mr. Offerdahl, and he explained the program, he explained what we want to do to protect them. And I was not able to be at the meeting, but I understand, Eric, that it was very well received. And there was questions, yes. And there's things that we'll go back and see if, if we can tweak the program maybe to answer some of those questions. But I thought it was very good. It was a great outreach to our farmers out there that are going to be impacted by this project. So, Eric, would there be anything else that you'd want to say on that or not?
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, I think you're spot on. We've been working on how to address ag mitigation issues for several years, and I think, with your leadership, obviously we've been taking that real seriously. In addition to the work by Watts on crop insurance, a few other things that I might just mention. We've had NDSU ag research team study, the risks of delayed planting and preventive planting on production here in the Red River Valley. And so that we've spent quite a bit of study time and effort with that group analyzing information. Conclusions of that they've been out on the website, but basically concluded that every spring flood we've had has come and gone before regional planting, and the expectation is that will continue. There are some little overlaps where there may be some impacts from delayed planting, and that's been taken into account in the work that Watts has done, and so those things feed together. And then in addition to that, several years ago we did have an ag subcommittee that met a number of times and brought forward issues and concerns that now we have mitigation programs such as the crop insurance, such as debris removal, probably a few other things I'm forgetting right now, but those issues were brought forward years ago in the Ag Committee, and now we've followed suit through the mitigation plan and through the settlement agreement to really solidify our commitments to resolving those concerns. So I think it's a pretty interesting story if you tie all those pieces together. We have gone above and beyond the minimums that are required of us.
Thanks for jumping in at the spur of the moment. Eric didn't know that I was going to call on him. So. Anything else? Any questions? Or thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
Next meeting is March 23rd, right here, or virtually, and it's at 2 o'clock. Next item is adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.